Hey guys, this is going to go over the hotel rooms FRQ. I thought this one was pretty quick, so we're going to fly through it here. So you've got two Java files, two classes you're working on here. Question 1 deals with the room class. Now we're talking about a hotel here, so we have a couple variables. We've got a room number that's an integer, a booking name, it's a string, so that's like the name of the person checking into the room. And then we have a Boolean called occupied that's just telling us if someone is already checked into that room or not. So for question 1, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build this check-in method. And there's a description right up here. It says we're trying to check to see if a new guest can go into a room. So basically, we're going to check to see if the room is occupied or not. Okay. If it is not occupied, we're going to change, basically update the booking name. We're going to change occupied to true because now someone's in there. Now, keep in mind that this method should also return a Boolean. So, if we're able to check this new guest in, we're going to return true. And if not, we're going to return false. So basically, we're checking to see if occupied is false, or I'm sorry, if occupied is true, that means that somebody is already in that room. So if that's true, then we want to return false because we cannot successfully check in the new guest into this room. Now, if that's not true, it's just going to keep on going. We're going to update our booking name to the name that's given as a parameter here. We're going to change occupied to true now, since somebody is in the room. That's not how you spell true. And we're going to return true. Okay, and it just specifies that we should return true if the check-in was successful and the booking name was changed, and we're returning false otherwise. So that was just a description given for the method above. And that's all you have to do for question 1. Okay, that's all you have to do for the check-in method in the room class. Now for part 2, we're going to be in the occupancy info class. And with this one, we have an array list called rooms, and it's basically just all of the data for all of the rooms in this hotel. So we're making the check-in method for this class. Notice though that it takes 2 parameters. It takes a name and a number, and also, we're going to be returning an integer this time, not a Boolean like we did for the other class. Now, this one has a bit of a bigger description. So it says that we're attempting to check in a new guest into a given room number. That's why we have the 2 parameters there. If the room number exists in the database, and if that room is unoccupied, then we're going to put the guest into that room. Okay. Now, we have a couple things here that we have to be careful about because we're returning an integer. So we need to know where this integer is coming from and what integer we should be returning. So we're going to return a -1 if there is no room number with the requested number. Okay, it just doesn't exist. We're going to return a 0 if the room exists but it's occupied. And we're going to return a 1 if the check-in is actually successful. So we're going to have a bit of a bigger structure here. First of all, to check and see if the room even exists, we need to run a for loop and check to see if the room number that we're putting in as a parameter matches any of the room numbers for the rooms in the rooms array list. So I'm going to do a for each loop here. So for each room R in the array list rooms, we're going to check and see if r.getNumber, that'll return the room number of that room, equals the number that we're giving as a parameter. Okay, so if that's true, that's the first good step. Now we need to check to see, is that room occupied? So now we're going to have another conditional statement. If r.checkin, so we're going to use that method that we have from the room class, which remember returns a Boolean. So we're calling this method if it's true, if it returns true, then that means that this the check-in was successful. The room exists, it was unoccupied, we're able to check that guest in. So now we can return a 1. Now, let's say that the room exists, but when we do the check-in method, it returns false. Okay, so that means that this conditional statement here isn't true anymore. It's not going to return the 1. We want it to return 0 in that case. That means that the room was found, but it was occupied. Okay, let's say we go through this entire for loop and it never finds a room number equal to number. Well, in that case, that means that the room doesn't exist at all. So outside of our for loop, then we would need to return that -1. And that's it for the check-in method for the occupancy info class. So that's it for this FRQ, guys. It wasn't too bad. But remember, these are the kind of FRQs that you're going to see on your AP test. You're going to need to be pretty comfortable with making methods and using for loops, conditional statements, writing different classes. And arrays and array lists pop up a lot, so make sure you're comfortable with all of the content covered in this. If you feel pretty comfortable, then it should go pretty quickly for you guys. But as always, don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions, ask for help, and have a great day.